Hello, and welcome to the second installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And I'm Kevin the dad.
And we are back for our second episode. Alright, Dad, do you want to tell our viewers what this week's album is going to be?
This week's album Juliet picked is All American Boy by Rick Derringer. And before I ask her the million-dollar question, I'm just going to give some background on Rick Derringer, who was born Rick Zeringer, yes, with a Z.
Oh.
And his first foray into rock and roll professionally was when he was 17 years old. He sang the lead on the song Hang On Sloopy by the McCoys, which went to number one in 1965 for 1 week, only to be knocked out a week later by the Beatles with Yesterday.
Hold on. Hang On Sloopy?
Yes.
What's a Sloopy?
That's a person's name.
Okay, continue.
Might be a girl. He changed his name from Zeringer to Derringer because he was inspired by the Bang Records logo, which had a Derringer gun on it. And Bang Records was the one who put out Hang On Sloopy. After that, he played with Johnny Winter and Edgar Winter.
Oh, okay. That answers a question I was going to have later.
Okay. For Edgar Winter, he produced his huge hit album, They Only Come Out at Night, which had the songs Frankenstein and Free Ride on them. All American Boy came out in 1973, and it was his first solo albums. At that time, he was putting out solo albums, and he was also a session player as well, playing with Steely Dan, and then eventually Air Supply, Bonnie Tyler, and, believe it or not, Barbra Streisand.
What?
Yes.
Wait, can you explain that one?
Apparently, she hired him to play a solo on one of her songs.
Oh, okay. They didn't, sing a duet or anything. He just
No.
Okay,
Yeah. He got to a point where his solo career wasn't doing that great, and he was reduced to writing jingles. The good thing that came out of that was he actually met his future wife, who was also a jingle writer.
Oh.
And his comeback was, believe it or not, producing 6 of Weird Al Yankovic's albums, for which he won a Grammy or 2.
All right, cool.
He still tours. He played in Ringo's All-Star Band at one point.
Oh, cool.
And he recently did a tour about maybe a year or two ago with some other 70s acts. He's still out there getting it on. Now, did you have a question?
Yeah, do we know what jingles he wrote? Did he write any famous ones?
I couldn't find anything specific. I know at one point he was contracted to write one for Budweiser, and the execs told him, make it sound like ZZ Top.
You can't really do that to a musician. We hired you, but you should sound like this other artist. Then it's well, why didn't you hire the one you wanted, or at least get someone in a similar vein?
Yeah, that's when he realized my life sucks. Until Weird Al came along.
Weird Al for hiring him.
So the million-dollar question that I have to ask you is, why did you pick this album? And I have nothing against this album. Obviously, it's my collection. I like it a lot. Rick, to me, is not like a major league star.
He's a B in terms of the A's. Is what you're saying?
Yes, but in a nice way.
Okay, so the reason I picked this was when I first got my first MP3 player, not even an iPod, my first MP3 player, Dad put on all the songs for me because, growing up, I listened to the music that Dad would play in the car, and he knew what songs I liked to listen to in the car based on how I reacted to them. So one of the songs you put on was Rock and Roll Hoochie by Rick Derringer. And, that was never a song I remembered listening to in the car, so I always wondered why you put that one song on there. You didn't put anything else, you just put on that one song. And I was thinking, there must be something about this guy if Dad put a song by him on my MP3, but I don't remember listening to it. Maybe he wants me to listen to this guy, Maybe he wants me to fully appreciate who this person is. So I thought that taking an artist that you and I didn't really talk about, but one that you had in your collection would be an interesting idea to do for an episode.
Okay.
Yep.
One thing I want to mention, if you've never seen the album cover, is take a look at the album cover.
Yes.
He's in some sort of silver space jacket, rock and roll type of garb. But the thing that strikes me funny is he's wearing gloves, holding a guitar. strumming it. Now, I guess for like the hand that holds the pick, that's fine, but the hand that's like working the fretboard, I don't think a glove is going to be that much helpful.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of see that now where it's like people are complaining, I can't use my phone in the winter because I'm wearing my gloves and the keypad doesn't respond. And now people are building gloves that specifically have little pieces of fabric sewn in that your smartphone will recognize when you tap it. So maybe Rick Derringer needed one of those gloves to play the guitar chords he wanted to play.
Okay.
All right, do you want to know what I thought of this?
Yes, do you want to go through it song by song?
I'll give my initial opinion, then we'll go through it song by song.
Okay, fine.
All right, so based on the album cover alone, when I first looked at it, Rick Derringer, All-American Boy, my impression, and especially because the only song I knew was Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, was, oh, this album is going to be a fun romp with some nostalgic 50s and 60s music. And oh, how wrong I was.
Yes, especially since this came out in the 70s.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize until I started listening to it. It's like, copyright 1973, and I was like, oh, okay. But I thought maybe he was like playing homage or something. Paying homage, excuse me. And this album was a lot more dark and grave than I was expecting it to be. And at first I appreciated how profound some of the messages in his songs were. But then I found myself getting so depressed I just wanted it to be over so I could go read the news online and write some quick emails. And
see, I find that interesting because I think this is one of the funnest albums ever. So,
okay, wow, we got the
well, the only song
that
that I think is depressing is possibly the last song, Jump, 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 which we'll get to later.
We'll get to Jump, 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 but a lot of these songs, in my opinion, are depressing, and we can kind of go back and forth on that. But listening to this album, it made me wonder what Derringer's personal life was like, especially regarding his mental health and his relationships with women. I will explain more as we get into this, but this makes me wonder, like, was music his therapy? Like, there's a lot of artists who I think, like, can you think of some rock and roll artists who definitely use music as their therapy?
All of them.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, for me, the specific examples that come into mind is, like, when Eric Clapton wrote the song about his dead son, the one that fell out the... What, did he fall out the
Tears from
window?
Heaven.
Yeah, and then it also made me think of when Alice Cooper did that comic book about the time he booked himself into, was it a psychiatric ward? Yeah, that's what that made me think of. And I kid you not, funnily enough, when I was done listening to this album and I was done taking my notes, for those at home, I always listen to the albums we do for this podcast on Spotify. Dad has the hard copy. I listen to it online and I stream it.
You're welcome to use the hard copy if you ever need it.
I will, thank you. But when I logged off Spotify, I kid you not, there was an advertisement for a Spotify playlist called Life Sucks. And I was like, oh, that's a hell of a message the internet's trying to send me. And I'll get into the rest of my opinions after we go through this song by song. So, you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. But before we get into that, I just wanted to make a really nice observation is that, you know me, I listen to a lot of show tunes and a lot of cast albums. And what I love about doing this podcast is no longer, like, for most of the time, I'm not listening to an album that is 2 discs or more than 20 tracks. Like, I always count, like, I believe Revolver was 14 tracks, and this one was 12, and I was like, wow, this is surprisingly short. In my brain, it was surprisingly short, and I'm like, you're just not used to listening to these albums in a long while after listening to cast recordings.
Well, back in my day, we had vinyl, we had records, and they only had anywhere from 44 to 45 minutes to get your message out. That's why there's only like 12 to 14 songs. And when CDs came along, everyone realized, hey, we've got 75 minutes, and darn it, I'm going to use all 75, which led to a lot of bloated albums.
I was going to bring that up. You said that there were like a lot of bloated albums with people doing some of the weirdest stuff to fill that 75 minutes. Can you think of like something really weird?
Just little skits and like half-baked ideas. Where I got to say, that's the one thing about vinyl is you've got 45 minutes, you have to make it count.
All right, let's get into the songs. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, the first song of the album. So what I like about this song is the lyrics for me, I always put the lyrics up in a separate tab, that way in case I misinterpret a word or I'm not sure what he says. But what I like about this song is how it captures the early days of rock and roll when rock music first started playing and no one ever heard it before and they lost their minds like, this is the greatest thing ever. And also, the title of the song is just insanely catchy when Derringer sings it and the chorus comes in the background.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the song?
Well, see, I'm coming from it as coming from the angle of like 70s party rock, I suppose, or fun rock. Yeah. I still have no idea what a Hoochie Coo is.
Me
but
neither.
yeah, I mean, fun song. Yeah, we can say it's a little mindless, but catchy as heck.
Yeah. It made me want to ask you a question though. Like, do you remember the first time, it could be rock music, or the first time you heard a genre of music and you were like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing in the whole world. Why haven't I heard this before? Because I feel like that's the spirit the song is capturing. So I just wanted to know if, like, you ever felt that when you were listening to rock and roll as a kid, or if there was a moment where you experienced that feeling that Derringer's singing about.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones, I thought, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing ever. Where have you been all my life?
You know, that explains why you have a lot of Rolling Stones albums now.
Mm.
All right, Joyride, the instrumental, 1 of 2 on the album. I love this instrumental so much, and when I saw that he had 2 instrumentals on it, I was like, ooh, I was kind of wary because I'm like, is he going to get experimental? Is it going to be dull? Is it going to be repetitive? But I really loved what he did, where it's like the slow pace with the acoustic guitar, and then it kicks into a faster pace. I was just bobbing my head through the whole thing. I was thinking, this song would be great for like a workout playlist, getting someone motivated to go for a run, either outside or on the treadmill.
Which is what he had in mind. No, I have no idea.
I was like...
Yeah, I like the fact that he's definitely known for being a guitar player. And, you know, this does give him a chance to showcase his playing. But he's not like all crazy out of control. I'm going to play, 87 notes in 5 seconds type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, his solo service the song. And the one thing I have to say about this song and through the whole album is his drummer, Bobby Caldwell, is just phenomenal. He's just very solid. He's not show-offy. He does these great fills. And again, he's just services the song.
That's not Bobby Caldwell, the singer, right?
No, this is different.
Okay, because I was about to say, wow, he's a singer and a drummer.
Yeah, there's actually more than 2 people out there, I suppose,
with
that
the
have that
same
name. Oh my god.
Oh my god. That's why we have social security numbers, folks.
And I like how Joyride just works its way into Teenage Queen.
Yeah, I noticed that. That transition was really abrupt. I was like, oh, but I kind of liked it. All right, now let's get on to Teenage Queen. The first note I have is, well, shit, this song is a downer. I had the lyrics in another tab, and I kind of saw the later ones, like my eyes just like went down the very bottom, so I knew the girl was going to die before I even started singing about it. And what I want to know is, like, was this based on a real event? Did his high school sweetheart die? Was he really speeding on a narrow road like the song said? Like, or did this happen to a friend of his? Or, like...
I've always looked at it as like a parody of the Teenager Dies in a Car Crash song, for just like some of the lines like, it wasn't much of a wreck, but enough to take my teenage queen.
Wait, that was like a real thing? People writing songs about girlfriends getting killed in car crashes?
Oh yeah, like
What?
Last Kiss by J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers, or Where Can My Baby Be? The Lord Took Her Away From Me.
So this was a parody of all those songs.
I've kind of always thought that, or even the lines about, I miss her so, it's hard to figure out where she did go. Like, I always think...
Did she go to heaven or hell?
Or did she, just explode into so many pieces that they just couldn't put her back together, kind of thing.
Or this is their version of
Where did she go? Where are you?
Or this is their version of Chappaquiddick.
Oh.
She drowns in the river, and he doesn't pull her out.
Yeah, I miss her so, and it's hard to figure out where she did go. Vote for Quimby.
Yeah, you just got a view of my dad's political views right there.
Because even at the if you listen to the very end of the song after it's over, there's a little studio talk where he says, oh, she loved the hell out of him. He says, he quotes Joni Mitchell, I've looked at life from both sides now. And then it goes into Cheap Tequila.
Ooh, dark. One other thing about Teenage Queen was, I was taken aback by the use of strings because I thought this was just going to be a straight rock album, but I was pleasantly surprised with the use of strings in this song, and the other good touches are the mournful oohs and the growl he puts in his voice to express his grief. I was like, this is not what I was expecting, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, when did symphonic rock first become a thing? Was it around this time, a bit earlier, a bit after?
Do you mean like Moody Blues?
Moody Blues, ELO.
Well, Moody Blues started out, if you're talking Knights in White Satin, that sort of thing, probably 67, 68, late 60s. Probably especially after the Beatles got it going with, like, She's Leaving Home, or maybe even Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah, and Day in the Life especially, with the End of the World sound that George Martin had.
Yep.
Okay, so, like, by the time Derringer wrote this, then it was kind of popular, but not really?
Yeah. Okay. But I think the strings in this song are used as more of an accent as opposed to, like being a dominant instrument in the song.
Okay. All right, Cheap Tequila. Very country-esque, I thought. For me, this was a very surprisingly dark song about this washed-up woman. And at that point, when I was listening to it, it was my least favorite. And I have in my notes, I don't think what this washed-up woman needs is more tequila. I think she might need some therapy, or at least a way to loosen up that won't dull her senses and damage her liver.
Drink up and be happy, live just for today, drown in cheap tequila, and flush yourself away.
I was like, oh dear. When I first read the flush yourself away, I'm like, does he mean like flush away your personality or like go die or something? But I was like, oh no, he's just saying drown your sorrows. But that probably means she's going to wake up with a hell of a headache in the morning and be just as miserable as she was before.
Huh. You know, I've been listening to this album for like forever, and I've never gotten that viewpoint before the song, but it's very interesting. Just looking over the lyrics now, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what she's thinking about. You know, I'll just drink and try and be happy and, just flush away the bad stuff.
And then the next morning it's just as bad. It's sticking the Band-Aid on the gunshot wound of her life.
Oh.
Hey, I said it. It's out there on the internet now forever. All right, Uncomplicated. So at first, the meaning of this song for me was complicated to figure out, but by the time I got it, it was like, just accept who you are and everything will be easier in life. This was the first song I was like, this is kind of boring. I wasn't really jamming out to this song because I was too busy trying to figure out what the hell it meant. But then by the time I got it, I was like, oh, okay, I've heard this message before, and it's been executed in better ways, I think, but no examples really come to mind, but I feel like the message of this song has been done before. And also the very beginning where he's observing everyone, fretting. This might have just been because the day I listened to this, you were also playing Pete Townsend in the car earlier. So Derringer's character narrating this song and observing everyone reminded me of Pete Townsend's character in Street in the City, just observing everyone with their own insignificant problems.
Except Rick used more cowbell.
It's like the SNL skit, more cowbell!
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. What do you think of this song?
I like it. I gotta say I haven't paid attention to the verses so much as the chorus, which is just only uncomplicated over and over and over again. But I can see what you're saying about, everyone's done this kind of song, and
yeah, it's not one of the best interpretations of this message.
Well, like I said, it's kind of funky, and gotta love that cowbell.
All right, hold. This is my favorite song on the album. It was the only one I downloaded on Spotify. I really love the song. I think it strikes the perfect balance between a love song and a cry for help. And the instrumental, it makes you sway. And it's a simple song with a very powerful message. My favorite song on the album, hands down.
And the interesting thing about this song is he co-wrote this with Patti Smith before she became Patti Smith.
What did she do? I'm blanking right now.
Well, the big hit is her cover of Because the Night.
I feel like I may have heard that in your car at one point.
Yeah, you probably have.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, was she and Edgar Winter the only co-writing songwriters on here?
Possibly. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
Well, no. Actually, Rick wrote them all except Hold, which was written by Rick Derringer and Patti Smith, according to the liner notes here.
Okay, yeah, the liner notes. Now in CDs, you just get, like, the tiny little jacket, the, like, little, tiny little book of all the lyrics.
Well, kind of the same thing, as long as you got the credits.
Yeah, and now, my generation, we don't even have them. We could just go on Google and look them up and get them right then and there.
Oh, good for you, Jules.
Thanks, Ben. But when we get to a certain song, I'll tell you about which one I was not able to find the lyrics to. All right. The airport giveth, the airport taketh away.
How great a title is that?
Yeah, I was not expecting this for a title. I was like, I don't think it's the greatest title ever, but it's certainly interesting. Why do you think it's such a great title?
Oh, because, you're at the airport and and people are going to come, and people are going to go.
Yeah.
So the airport giveth, and the airport taketh away. And this is kind of sad. There's one line. Let me see if I can find it here. Where he has to hurry. It's almost showtime. He says, "She watched me while I played. I watched the girls down front."
Yeah, that line was very telling, I thought. It's like, is he scouting them out for like the bodyguards to bring them back to the dressing room at the end of the show?
Oh yeah.
Hey, can you hook me up with the blonde down in row C? Yeah? Okay, thanks. I thought the lyrics were very good at describing the lifestyle of a rock star on tour. You know, getting caught up with other girls, saying goodbye to your family. Probably see them in a month, or depending on how long the tour goes, maybe more than that, maybe even a year. I think it's also kind of creepy, the title of this song, when you think about all the rock stars that died in airplane accidents. The airport literally tooketh away in those scenarios.
Yeah, but I think it's more of what you said before about, girl has affair with rock star, and the airport is taking him away, and he's saying, he says it's the same old show. He says he'll come back, but we know he probably won't until the next tour. And hey, I'll look you up when I come back. Yeah, sure.
So it's not his wife he's talking to? It's just all the girls he's sleeping with?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was like a wife and like she knew that like everywhere he went he'd be sleeping with like another fan or something.
No, because he's saying, it's time to go. She holds her tears back. It's the same old show. This is just always going to happen whatever town he happens to be in.
Very what's it all about, Alfie?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So this song was good, but the repetition of the last lyrics for me got pretty dull and pedantic after a while, and I was like, okay, dude, we get it. The airport giveth. The airport take it away. You've already said it 3 times.
But that's rock and roll. That's rock and roll, baby. You want to reinforce the chorus. That's probably the catchiest thing.
You want to reinforce, but if it's a boring chorus, there's only so much you can do, and it was getting really boring for me towards the end.
Oh, well. See, it even says, like in the lyrics, tonight our love is real. It's all a man could want. But in the morning, right back in the game. It's going to just happen again.
The morning after, wake up, and he's gone.
This also happens with baseball players, too.
Is there a connection? You think?
No, I'm just saying the same thing. 162 games, you got 81 of them on the road.
Wonder how many marriages have been broken up in baseball.
Oh, lots. Same with rock and roll.
Yeah. Alright, Teenage Love Affair, where Edgar Winter gets a co-writing credit on this one. And parts of the song, I was like, okay, it makes sense. He was the one you went to see with Alice Cooper in concert, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I first heard the song, when I heard the chorus, I'm like, oh, I've heard this song before because it's insanely catchy, the title of this song with the chorus. However, my least favorite part of the song is, I want to say, the techno distortions with his voice. I just thought they sounded really gross and really out of place.
Really gross?
They just sounded gross on the ears. Like,
gross.
Yeah, I was listening to that cringing. I was like, oh, God, no. Go back to the song, please. What the hell's this?
Hey, back in 1973, that was cutting-edge technology, baby.
Yeah, but you had Kraftwerk in Germany who was doing, like, better, like, techno stuff with music and pulling it off way better. I don't cringe when I listen to Kraftwerk, do I?
Oh, God, you pronounce it like a German, too, don't you?
Trying to be authentic, Dad.
Yeah, anyway, Kraftwerk, they kind of didn't make it over here big until, like, 77 or so. But anyway.
What else was I going to say? So, as I was listening to this song with him sleeping around and finding out that the girl's gone and left, I thought I was going to be, ooh, karma, what a bitch, eh? That's what you get for sleeping around. But nope, he's going to go sleeping around, which just goes to show that teenage boys are raging hormones with car keys.
Hey, that was the 70s. Life was good.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like in every 70s movie, it's like, people are either A, having promiscuous sex, or B, snorting cocaine out the wazoo.
Or both.
At the same time? Yeah, you decide. And I also, the one other thing I like about the song is Derringer gives the character of the song a wonderfully annoying, pretentious voice. So I was like, oh, I hate you, but you work. Alright, it's raining.
This is my favorite song on the whole album. I just like the, kind of like the mellow groove and the drumming and just the whole vibe, man. Sorry I said that.
No, I feel sorry for what I'm about to say. For me, this was the least memorable song, except for the drums conveying the sound of pounding rain. That was the best part.
Oh, what do you kids know?
Let's not bring that into that. That's going to start a whole war in the comments section. We don't need to go there. Yeah. Full disclosure, I do love my dad very much.
Yeah, you're all right, I guess.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, for me, this just wasn't as memorable. I wonder how this would have been as, like, an instrumental, though? Because I don't remember the lyrics of this song at all. I just remember the drums.
Now, how about the harmonica? Great harmonica solo.
I don't really remember the harmonica.
Ugh.
And I have let my father down.
Where did I go wrong?
Yeah. You do. Don't blame this on Mom either. Don't say that this is the 2% of me, that this is Mom.
Uh-huh. All right.
All right. Time Warp, the second instrumental. From the title, I was like, oh, I wonder if the composer of the Rocky Horror Picture Show was inspired by this song in some way. Because for me, when I hear Time Warp, the first thing I hear, or I think of, is Rocky Horror. But did this come out before Rocky Horror or after?
Probably before, I think.
Okay. So, in my opinion, this is not as good as the first instrumental. I like the fast pace, but the emphasis on the bass just made me cringe. It was like they turned up the bass way too much, and it was distracting from the acoustic guitar. It was off-putting, and it really threw me off against all the other string instruments. And in my notes I wrote, I also tuned out for a good 30 seconds and wasn't even tempted to go and rewind the song to pick up where I left off.
All right for you. The one thing that sticks out to me in this song is of course, the drumming. Nice little solo and fills there. Yeah, it's not the greatest song in the world, but I still like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good drumming on this album, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's because I grew up with you, I notice.
And I'm wondering if it's called Time Warp because if there's different time signatures in this song. Ooh. I'm not big on that. All I know is 4/4. Beyond that, I'm treading in dangerous waters. Yeah. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe,
I mean, the only time signatures I know, because I took chorus, were 4/4, 3/4, 2/4, and because I had to sing it when I did Phantom in high school, 7/8.
Oh.
It's a really interesting time signature to listen to, but it's murder to sing. It was just it felt like you were laying track for an oncoming train. All right, slide on over Slinky. So, interestingly enough, not one website, not even Google, has the lyrics to this song. You either had to submit them yourself or pay money to access them. And my dad is showing me the lyrics printed on the back of the album. Well, I didn't do that. I just listened really, really hard. All right, so this was another song I tuned out for a good 10 seconds and didn't bother to rewind because life is short. And I was also getting tired of Rick recounting his sexual escapades by this point. I was like, all right, dude, we get it. You're a rock star. You sleep around.
Again, it's the 70s. What else was there?
Sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's the big three.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, I've already heard 3 other songs about this on this album at this point. Can you just stop bragging? Can you go talk to your buddies about this and not post it for the whole world to see? We'll probably talk more about that when we get to some of Fleetwood Mac stuff, but... Well, you know about Lindsay.
Well, I was going to say, if, the whole sex and rock and roll thing, that's Kiss's career right there.
I think it also has to do with, how they write the songs, so that way they don't feel like... It doesn't feel like they're bragging. You know what I mean? It also has to do with a lot of...
Well, in the case of Kiss, yes, they are.
All right. I'll be prepared for that when we do Kiss eventually on the show.
Okay.
What do you think of Slide On Over Slinky?
Yeah, it's definitely a whole 70s thing, and even at the beginning he's saying, let's get a little greasy on this one, and they do.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of sleaze is just what I need.
Yeah. There's one question I want to ask you because I'm not sure about this. So, I googled Slinky just to make sure I understood what it meant in this context, and it made sense. But was Slinky a popular way to describe a really hot girl in the 70s or something?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is ooh, she's wearing a slinky dress. I have no idea.
I thought slinky was slinky dress, really nice body, and also very flexible in bed.
Okay. Either that or she can go down the stairs like the slinky.
She can do backflips down the
stairs
like a slinky. That's why he wants to sleep with her.
Yeah.
That's why he finds her hot. All right. Jump, jump, jump. When I saw that the timestamp was 6 minutes, my first thought was, Please don't let it be bad. And then when I heard the first lyric, I thought, oh, geez, dude, not again. Yep, another depressing song, and very dark. So dark, I have in my notes, that as I'm writing this, the song isn't even over, and I want it to be over, just like Rick does in this song. It just goes on and on and on, like his depressed life. It keeps going.
So, do you think he jumped?
I don't know. I was like, I didn't care if he jumped at that point, and I just wanted the album to be over, because I was getting so depressed. Do you think he jumped or not?
I don't know, because it's like, I might as well jump. The water's cold. Said I'm gonna jump. The water's cold. Maybe if the water was a little warmer, he'd jump? I don't know.
Maybe that's him, like, getting second thoughts for, like, reasons to keep living and not to jump in the water. Like, hey, this water's cold, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna commit.
Yeah, because he says, I'm gonna jump. I'll freeze my very soul.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know why, but that just reminded me of the song title, Comfortably Numb. Like, I'll freeze my soul, that way I won't feel a thing, and this will be a lot easier to do.
That could be, yeah, because it says, it's time I pinch myself to see it's such a scary, scary, scary dream.
Alright, so by this time, the album was done, and I was thoroughly depressed. I was glad I was done listening to it. And I also wrote in my notes, I have written here, I quote, also, Dad, are you okay? 3 question marks! Because at this point I was like, this album is so depressing. How the hell is my dad okay after listening to it? And I was just like, Dad, are you okay? Is there something we need to talk about?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've never felt as depressed as you apparently were listening to this album. I mean, like I said, for me the only I guess bummer man of a song is the last one, Jump, and maybe that's why he saved it for last, because up until then it's like, hey, good times, partying, chicks, life's great.
I would say the most depressing songs on this are obviously Jump, Teenage Queen, Hold, It's Raining a little bit, Cheap Tequila and The Airport, Give It the Airport, Take It Away are depressing for different reasons, if you can get what I mean. It's depressing for the other characters in the song and not for Rick Derringer personally. And then there are just some songs, it's like, he's either really depressed or he's bragging about the women he slept with.
See, I'm surprised that you find It's Raining is a depressing song, because it's, stranded till the hurricane's through, but at least I know I'm stranded with you.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking of something else. Yeah, I just, that song was so non-memorable, I just forgot what it was even about in the first place.
Yeah.
Alright, do you want to have any final thoughts before we wrap up the episode? I'm going to list my final thoughts, but if you have any...
Oh, you go first, and maybe I'll come up with some.
Alright, so... Yeah, this album was depressing for me. The first 3 songs are great, and the rest of the album is hit or miss. For me, this is an album where I would definitely cherry-pick songs and not listen to the whole thing. The only song, again, as I said, that I downloaded off of Spotify was Hold, because it was a beautiful song. I would not listen to the whole album because I feel like I'm accompanying Derringer on a mental downward spiral, and I'm like, dude, get me out of here. So if you like an album that tricks you and has dark themes, then boy, is this album for you. I, however, will not be listening to the full album in the future, and also, knowing me, if I only listen to one song that I really liked and be like, wow, I wonder why I don't have the full album. Maybe I misjudged it. Knowing me, I would go back to revisit the album, and it would be one hell of a shock, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's why I don't listen to the whole album at all. Alright, Dad, your thoughts? I'm getting bummed out talking about this.
Wow, I am just so surprised by this reaction, because I have never had that. Maybe it's a generational thing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Oh.
But, I don't know if it's one of my all-time favorite albums. I mean, I'm glad I have it in my collection. Every once in a while, I'm just in the mood to listen to that album, and I will listen to it, and I've never felt depressed.
Okay.
Until, like I said, until Jump. Yeah, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, he's thinking about jumping, okay.
When I first saw the title, I thought it was going to be like Jump and Jive and Wail by Louis Primo, where those jumping on the dance floor and having a good time. And oh, how wrong I was. I was wrong about a lot of what I thought this album was going to be.
I'm gonna jump with chicks and booze! Yeah, that didn't happen.
No.
He looked at his life, realized how empty it was, and decided he was gonna not just jump, but jump.
Jump. So, like, he was gonna jump off the cliff, then jump down to the other ledge of the cliff, and then jump in the water.
It's almost like a Wile E. Coyote thing before going on the ground.
It's like Wile E. Coyote meets parkour.
Oh, jeez. And on that note, if you've made it this far, thank you.
Thank you for listening, as always, to another episode of My Dad Listens to This. We will be back, hopefully, next week with another more upbeat album that does not end on a downer note. Again, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to our videos if you want to see more content. Thank you, and we'll see you again for the next one.